place with our facilities guys and police and everybody else, so everybody knows you're coming. Yeah, that'll be good. Yep. Well, my first thought when we talked about this later too is, find a, like a little loop, just find a, either put up, here, and then just, find a place where, like right up here on the side where people can drop off stuff or whatever. But yeah, that would be good. All right. You want me to have everybody introduce themselves, just so we know who they are? I'm going to give everybody a minute just to get connected. I just have one, and I know there's more coming. Yeah, and so if you would just want, and Larry, yeah. Oh, are they? Larry mentioned it at the one 2 weeks ago, because he did, because they were here 2 weeks ago. So he mentioned it then. So yes, they at least have an idea. Okay. And you can just say, hey, this is coming, and yes, we're going to be involved, or however you want to do it. All right, I got one, I got two. I'm waiting for one more. We already have the four online. Okay, simmer down. Hi again, everyone. Nice to have you along. Did you know that I was in radio? I started in radio 37 years ago. That is exactly where the story is going, because when I started in radio, I used my name, just my real name, Al Bravo. It's Alfred, by the way, for anybody who's wondering. And people thought I had already changed my name because it sounded like a radio name, so I'd never changed it. And I've been Al Bravo all my life.
Well, there's a rumor that you were actually working on Jack.
That's a vicious rumor. But I did moonlight on Cool 94.5 in the early '90s, and we had a Saturday night show. Oh, it was literally a cool show. It was like all requests, all upbeat stuff. So there you go. Okay, that's my little plug for radio. Okay, everybody, good evening. Since we haven't done this, and I think this might be the sort of the biggest crowd in person that we've had, and so for the folks online who are watching as well, how about we go around one more time and just introduce themselves just really quickly and say, one line about who you are or how you ended up out here, or if you're in the wrong place and you're supposed to be over in the municipal court or something like that. Before I introduce the first of our three presenters tonight, we're going to talk utilities and public works tonight. It's going to be very interesting. All right, Pat, you want to start?
Hi, my name is Pat. Oh, anyway, I came. Sorry, it's been a long day. I came here to learn more about city government. I've been living in Apache Junction for about 3 years. We moved. I was forced to kind of move, and we found a little house, and we love it. So can't say much else.
My name is Mary Lee Miller, and I've been to a few of these meetings. I now know where I live.
That's right.
It took a few weeks, but I appreciate it. I'm just here to see what I can do to help.
Thank you, Ms. Miller.
My name's Pam. Been here about 8 years, and I'm always up to learning something new and seeing how things work together, so that's why I'm here.
My name is Daryl, and I've been in Apache Junction since 2004, and serving on the Planning and Zoning Commission, and learning more and more about our city every day, and look forward to one day being on City Council.
Ooh, ambitious.
Oh, yeah, he wasn't too far off.
My name's Jeff.
There you go.
Whoa. My name's Jeff. I've been in Apache Junction for almost 11 years. I just got on the Public Arts Commission. I'm looking forward to maybe getting on some more commissions in the future, and I thought it'd be nice to see how the city runs, and I have no desire to go to City Council.
That's okay.
My name's John Baker. I'm a East Valley native, born and raised in Mesa, basically, Tempe. Moved out to AJ a few years ago. Just love it. Just want to see what can be done.
You will see that there are about 3 or 4 of you already who are serving in some capacity in the city, which is really, really cool. That's a lot of what this class is always meant to be, is to be a place to start if you have some interest in wanting to serve in the city, boards and commissions, nonprofits, other places like that within Apache Junction. Ms. Sarah.
My name is Sarah. I'm also a native here, mainly in the East Valley, right on the border of AJ and Mesa. Now been here for 7 years on the HOA board of directors, and want to get more involved so I could be mayor.
Yeah, there you go, Daryl. You think you were ambitious.
Right.
Look at that.
Yes, yes.
Someday.
My name is Terrell, and I'm actually Sarah's other half. And so even with us together, we're looking to actually try to make a difference with us being the age that we are, younger than most, to where we can make a difference or learn the traditions of what has been taught so we can actually learn our teaching to teach others here in Apache Junction, either by using social media or even just the things that we've grown up with, so more people know more about what we're doing here and also within Apache Junction.
Excellent. Very good. There we go. Miss Caitlin, go ahead.
I am Caitlin Knox. My husband and I purchased our first home a few years ago and then started a landscape company. And I think pretty quickly I realized there was a big knowledge gap of how the city works and how to work more effectively with them. So that's why I decided to apply for the Board of Adjustments, and so I was appointed there, and then this was a natural next step to increase my knowledge.
Very, very good. And local business owners as well. Jeff.
I'm Jeff Mitchell. I've been here for about a year. What brought me here, my mom, she had a stroke, so I take care of her. And then basically, she's doing okay. Some days she wakes up and thinks it's still 1990 or something. It's crazy how it works. I don't know. It's weird how it works. Every day is a different day. I don't know what to expect. You know, it's like interesting. But you guys are stuck with me because after going through this winter and seeing all my friends struggling with 2 feet of snow in Chicago and everything else, I'm like, there are things that I don't miss. and this is one of those. So, yeah, so I'm just trying to help out when I can. Oh, and I'll put this up there, which is great. I didn't know I was going to get a chance to do this. So what this is, I'm part of the Rotary Club, and I don't know if any of you guys know what Rotary does, but so many things for the community, like scholarships for our high school students, fixing up things. We're going to be painting the new railings over at the high school, just doing service projects. Like if you need people, an army of service people to come and help, you just call the Rotary, and we show up and we help you. But we need money too. So we had a fundraisers canceled because of COVID, the Lost Dutchman days. We used to sell the beer there and get over $10,000. So I'm coming up with different ideas for fundraising, one of which is detailing cars, which is done pretty good. I've done a really good job with that. We've raised over $1,000 detailing cars. And this is another idea. I worked with Bryant Powell to get this set up. So we're going to do a community collection day on April 2nd, right outside of here for any items, that clothing, household, stuff like that. And then we're just going to bring it to Savers, and they're going to pay us by the pound. So if you have trash bags full of good stuff, what's that? Put a few rocks. Put a few rocks at the bottom of every trash bag. And they're never going to ask me to do it again. Like, they're going to say, these guys, Rotarians, are horrible. Effective strategy. I like the way you think, Pam. But that's Chicago-style thinking right there. Yeah. But no, so it works out. So this is what we're doing, and I thank you for putting it up there, Al. But yeah, that's coming up, and hopefully it'll be a good thing. I was just telling Caitlin I'm going to have to ask for a truck from the Hard Knocks Landscaping here to like park out there to fill this thing up. So we might have to do that, but that's that. So
Excellent, excellent, excellent. All right, thanks, Jeff. All kinds of good stuff going on out there in the city that we're really, really happy to see the activity that's going on out there. All right, thank you for indulging me on that. Like I said, I think one of the challenges of doing this class in this space is we don't get a chance to sort of interact the same way we would in a classroom kind of setting or in a conference room kind of setting. So for the folks online, you'll get your chance too, don't worry. Okay, as I said, utilities are on the docket. After this first presentation, we're gonna talk water and sewer, which, if you are aware, are sort of quasi-municipal in that they are not technically part of the city. But we'll learn all about that before we're done. But to get us started, we have the director of our Public Works Department. Public Works, of course, handles streets and lots of other things that you're going to hear about here in this next presentation. Mr. Weaver has been with us for just a little under 3 years. He started in 2017, in the summer of 2017, brought almost 3 decades of experience to Apache Junction from the city of Huron, South Dakota, or Huron, and the South Dakota Department of Transportation up in that part of the world. He is a civil engineer by trade, still holds licenses both in South Dakota and Arizona, and has overseen, a real push to improve, upgrade, and really take some of our roads to the next level, because as we all know, that is one of the most important things government can really do, is infrastructure. We're going to hear a lot about that tonight. So without further ado, the director of the Public Works Department for the city of Apache Junction, Mr. Mike Weaver. Single-digit handicap, correct?
We got to leave that alone, yeah, that's right. They make me wear this because I won't stand by the mic. So anyway, Mike Weaver, like you said, from South Dakota. We moved down here 3.5 years ago, and I have 4 boys, all grown, and that's about as exciting as it gets right there. So anyway, Director of Public Works. Bear with me on the first several slides. They're just pretty boring, actually. Our divisions in Public Works are administration, engineering, streets, buildings, and fleet. And streets, you'll notice, has 14 people in it. In 2008, 2010 area, there was about 26 people in that division. So with the recession, we downsized and haven't built back up yet. Engineering, they do some design work, but mainly project management, construction inspection, plan reviews, and they get into a lot of flood questions. So if you take a set of plans, want to build a house, go up to DSD, if you're in the floodplain or you're close, you'll likely end up at Public Works talking to the city engineer about several things, what you can do, what you can't do in your yard. They also grants, I would say over the past 3 years, we've probably brought in about 15 million in grants for roads and different projects. So we have a gal down in our office that's very good at getting them, knows how it all works, and I don't know, that's a pretty big advantage when you've got someone like that. So we'll go through some projects later that grants help pay for. Street department, you'll see those are the guys running around town all day. They'll doing signs. They also do project management. So depending on what the project is, if it's brand new, say like we rebuilt Southern down by Ironwood, that would be an engineering project. We recently did Baseline where we reclaimed everything, threw some cement in the base, stiffened it up, and then put asphalt on top. That would be more of a streets management project. And Shane's very good at it, our manager. Says trash pickup, don't get that confused with garbage. But the guys do go around, and if you'll see them, if there's something out on the road, they'll stop, get it. If there's something that's bugging them that's along the street, they'll stop and pick it up on their way. We have street sweeping, tree trimming, and I want to go into the tree trimming just a little bit because back in the day when we had 26 employees, if you had a tree out in your, what I call a boulevard, but between the road and your property line, we would come by and do some of that work and help you out. As we're staffed now, and as code says, that's the homeowner's responsibility. So we're trying to do a switch there where people are taking care of their own landscaping out in that area between the road and their property line. And I get a lot of questions, well, it's not on my property, but it is a required maintenance item. And we received some pushback at first, but I would say 90%, 95% of people aren't having an issue with it. For those that can't afford it, then we try to find other options. Pothole, chip sealing. Everybody know what chip sealing is? So you'll see mainly out in the Y, where we have non-asphalt roads. They look like asphalt, but basically they run some oil. First they grade the road nice, and then they put some oil down and throw chips on top of it, and it's got a distributor that puts the oil down, and then another chip distributor that drops the chips as it goes, and then we come in and roll it, and it seats the rocks into the oil, and then we leave it. Usually if it's a heavier traffic area, we'll come by and do that one more time on that road, but trying to think of some of the roads we did this last year, but it's not coming to me.
Winchester? Southern?
Winchester, well, those were asphalt, straight out asphalt projects, and the chip seals were more, oh, it's not gonna come to me, forget it. We didn't do it, no. That's what that is, exactly, and I think that's a double chip also. I haven't even been on that road yet, but yeah, I hear a lot of good things about it. Crack sealing, obviously, you'll see them out there filling the cracks with the oil. Then we do have a paver. We don't do a lot of it. Trying to think what we paved last. San Marcos, just south of Broadway. We did just a small stretch there where the asphalt had broke up in front of the grade school. And we had our paver out and paved that section. Street grading, mainly just when we're getting ready to do a chip seal or something like that, we'll have the graders out doing that, but most of the time they're doing shoulders and shaping ditches and this and that. And then flood cleanup, and we'll have some pictures on that. Fleet is also part of ours, so the maintenance for all our vehicles and equipment is in Public Works. We have 4 employees down there, and police are probably our biggest customer. So. In building maintenance, we have 3 guys, currently 2, but we're filling a position right now, and they're pretty good at HVAC, so they do everything they can. What they can't handle, then we contract out, but they do a lot of HVAC. They do some painting. They do, you'll see them up here. If somebody's got a problem with something, they're up here fixing it, but we have great help in building maintenance. Just couple of stats, approximately 200 miles of paved streets, 18 miles of dirt streets, 342 miles of shoulders. So you can see where this goes when we have a flood or something. You can see how much area there is to clean after that, and we'll show some of that. 6,000 signs, 13 buildings, 114 vehicles in that, and then 76 pieces of equipment, and then 1,300 streetlights, which needs some work. So we're trying to figure that one out too. Recent projects. So we've done a little bit on this over the past few years, but at Second and Tomahawk over by Weaver's Needle, if you know where that's at, this used to be, well, Palm Wash comes down and raises hell in this area. So if you can, I don't know if the mouse will work, it won't, but you can see the culverts on the right side, and then the structure in the middle. And what used to happen before we dug this area out is all the sediment would come down. It couldn't get through the pipes, so the water slowed down. All the sediment dropped out and filled the pipes up. And then, of course, then it just, over the road it went and down the road it went. So what we did here was dug it down about, those baskets are 3 feet tall. So you can kind of see they're in layers. And so we're about 3 foot deep going into the big culverts and probably about 1 foot deep going into the smaller ones. So it's not really a detention pond because the amount of water that comes down Palm Wash is massive. So the area is not big enough to slow that water down much, but it slows it down enough to drop the sediment out. And after it rains or we get a big storm, we'll probably have 30 or 40 truckloads worth of sediment in that. We come clean it out, but the pipes are staying clean and they're keeping themselves clean by the flow. So it did work. We were having trouble with the banks, that became a maintenance item. So the guys went in and put the baskets in this last year, and maybe it's just an engineering thing, but it looks pretty good. So Winchester, just this is one of our ADOT projects that we got grants for, but this is between 16th and Southern. It basically was 2 lanes. The west side had some curb, but not much. The east side had some curb, but no sidewalk here and there. So we went in and redid it all. And we know that we had plenty of issues on the west side of, after a good rain, it would wash all their shoulder away and having trouble getting in and out of their driveways, so we took care of that. Added the bike lanes, and you'll see that's kind of a thing now. We did an active transportation plan, and we're trying to get everything connected with bike lanes. Absolutely.
Thank you. I ride my bike all over town.
You're welcome. We're still working on it. We got a long ways to go, but we do have a plan anyway. Baseline, this is down by our office actually. Our Public Works is down on Baseline across where the emissions testing is. So we did a section of Baseline from Tomahawk to Winchester, and then we did another section from Ironwood over almost to Meridian. And again, widened it, added bike lanes. And on Baseline, you can see the bottom picture, the road hugged the fence line. So we got that moved to the north, lined it up with that area east of Tomahawk. And that's not quite as funky when you're driving from the east to the west. But they turned out great. And this is one of those projects too where the contractor came in, ground up about a foot of material, added cement to it, rolled it, added water, got it stabilized, and then we paved it. Delaware Ditch. This is at where Palm Wash crosses Delaware, which is 800 foot north of Southern. So as you can see in I believe the September storm, dang near took the wall out at the HOA there. So we contracted with Viasun to come in and do some work for us. And you'll see it changes from a ditch to a channel now because it's kind of fancy looking. But we needed to get that area protected right away, so we jumped in and got that done. And then I would say probably in April or May, we will finish going down to Southern. So you've got all this flow going through. We'll take it down to Southern, and at Southern, when it turns and heads west, it gets very wide. So we'll get it around the corner and then dump it into the wide area. And at that point, we'll drop the sediment out and we'll have an area to go in and clean out. But we feel if we can take care of it down to Southern, get it around the corner, that will get rid of our erosion problems. And it likes to do as it goes around the corner, it likes to do the little eddy thing in the corner. So we will protect that north bank for a little while. But anyway, it's pretty cool, and Viasun will do that project too, and they're very good at it. Apache Trail, these are more aesthetic jobs than anything, but I've heard that we've done plenty of studies about the downtown area and getting it cleaned up and doing all this stuff. So between us, Public Works will go in, put the dirt in and get the mounds built, and then Park and Rec will come in and with volunteers also and put the plants in, put the DG in, and do all that. So, but we recently, we did, 2 summers ago, we did from Meridian to, out in front of the Harley place, we got the rock in and the plants in. Well, then we got this great storm, and everywhere we didn't have curb, it played hell with our median. So we decided from here on out we're going to put the curb in first, and we'd put in a chunk. We finished those 2 areas that we did down at Meridian. We put curb in, and then we finished the area out in front of like Discount Tire. There was a few sections missing curb there, and then we did 2 other sections to the west. And then next year we'll do 2 more sections, and then we'll do until we get back down to Meridian. But we think in probably about 4 years will be to the end. And it's kind of that, when somebody's in a neighborhood and they put new siding on their house, siding, you guys don't even know what siding is probably. Thank you. And you do the landscaping work, and pretty soon the guy next door does it, and the guy down 4 houses does it, and it kind of catches on. So we're thinking we get this done, make an attempt to get it a little bit beautified in the median, that we'll see that attempt made in other areas as we go. So flood cleanup. This is a corner of TP and Cortez, I believe, and yeah, Weeks Wash. It's a beauty. My first, so I started July 10th, 2017, and on July 24th, I believe, it started to rain, and it started to rain. And I thought, well, I'm going to go see if I can find, because I'd seen it on videos where you see the water coming. There's no water in front of it, but you see the water coming. I thought, let's see if I can see that. So I got to that location, and I did get to see it, my 9th day of work. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then it got worse and worse, and I thought to myself, I really don't know this town that well. I'd probably head back to the office for a bit, so that's what I did. And I caught a ride with somebody else to go look at projects, but incredible. I'm a flatlander from South Dakota, and to see flow like that it was just incredible. And the amount of sediment it carries, it'll take us on like a July 24th storm, and I think it was a September 24th storm we had recently. It'll take us 3 months to clean up from that. I mean, it's a massive undertaking. Well, we push it out of the way first, and then we haul it out. And right now we've got a thing with Republic where we can haul it to them, and they use it to cap. So we don't have anywhere to put it, so it's a win-win for both of us. So as long as they keep taking it, things are good. Public Works also handles the HHW, which is incredibly, one of the gals down at Public Works runs this, and as organized an event as you'll ever see, probably. And I think we had 442 people there last Saturday, and I get tons of good comments about it. Of course, I get a few bad ones here and there, but I get a ton of. All right, thank you. But they work hard at it, and it's a great event, actually. The last thing I'm going to throw in here, and Larry talked about it, Mike will probably talk about it, and Darren might talk about it, but so I'll keep it brief. But obviously the area that was auctioned down between Elliott and Ray along Ironwood, the 2,800 acres. So we have been, I don't know how many hours of meetings we've had so far, but it's been fascinating, actually. 9,000 to 11,000 houses, and really looking forward to it. They did give us a layout, just kind of a, it'll change over time. This is conceptual, so it's but just an idea of what the area will look like, and it's super massive, and the amount of money is, it's crazy. So anyway, that's my last slide.
Do the developers hook up with the existing infrastructure, or do they pay you, the city, to go and come to them?
That one I'm gonna leave for Mike and Darren, because they deal with it. I can tell you, but you might as well get the 100% correct answer. On this type of thing too, what I assume is going to happen is that they'll get a CFD, so they'll get bonds, and they'll pay for everything inside of that dash line. All the roads, all the water, everything. And then roads like Elliott on the north, there'll be a half road that needs to get paid for. And Ray Road, there'll be a half road that needs to get paid for. So we collect development fee monies for every house that comes in. We get monies for that, and we'll use that to purchase the other half of the road that goes around. And I don't know what else to tell you, but it's a massive undertaking, and it's very exciting for the city, and I know we're having fun with it anyway. So. Yes?
Yeah, I'm in South Dakota too, and I used to build bridges and everything. We do everything with concrete. Why do you guys do everything with asphalt out here? I've yet to figure that out.
Well,
is it cheaper for you guys to do it with the mountain road?
I would say that asphalt down here is probably a better product because of its ability with the heat. You know how we had all the buckling up there, and I can't imagine what the concrete would.
So much longer too compared to the asphalt. You lay it down, you're done.
Well, true, and in concrete, you've got a product that's going to last for, 30 years or whatever. Asphalt, who knows? And we had a lot of trouble with base up there too. So I would assume that had a lot to do. A lot of spongy gumbo type material up there, and shale, and so I would assume that's the difference. I know down here asphalt's the thing.
I couldn't figure out why, so I figured out.
Well, there's a lot of things I haven't figured out down here yet. They start talking about caliche, and I'm like, I don't know what caliche is. I do now, though.
Do you handle the street signs
We do.
for the school zones? How's this on?
Oh, I muted it.
Yeah, I don't think it's on.
Because I've been contacting, because there's a school that came up and says no school zones. And I'm trying to figure out who to talk to. I contacted Rotel, I believe.
Okay.
But
Where's the school at?
the school's on Superstition, right by the fire station.
By Superstition Valley. Is that right? Yeah.
Yes.
Empty lot to the west there.
Yes.
Yep. Yep. We are looking at that, and we don't know. It seems like a simple question, but it's kind of difficult. You're afraid to put a crossing up on Superstition and giving children that this is a safe area to walk feeling, and it's not. So we have to be careful on those things, and we want to look into it, make sure we're making the right decisions. If there's crossing guards, or if the school supplies crossing guards, that's probably a different thing. But to just have a crosswalk out, I would struggle. I don't like them in 4 lanes, because the near lane, the guy stops to let the kid go, and this guy over here doesn't know what the heck's going on, so he keeps going, and so that kind of stuff kind of scares me.
Okay.
But we are looking at it, I promise you, but we don't have a good answer yet. Yep. All right, it only goes downhill from here, folks.
Wow.
They would be disappointed if I didn't say something, so. It's a pleasure, thanks for having me.
Mike Weaver. Okay, let's go ahead and take a quick short break here while we get set up for our second presentation.
Now, can you hear me? Oh, yeah. Al, you know it's my wife's birthday, so I gotta hurry through this. Do you hear me? It's my wife's birthday, so I gotta hurry through this.
Well, tomorrow is Darren's anniversary.
No?
I remember that from last year. Okay, take your seats. Social hour is over. Luckily.
Oh, what is this?
Something.
Oh, no.
Man, I swear you guys just what am I supposed to do? All right. Hopefully our folks online are also paying attention, and we will get started with presentation number 2 for the evening. And the next one is probably one of the most important resources we face in the state of Arizona, and of course is the city of Apache Junction, especially as we look towards our growth, and that of course is water. For those of you who are unfamiliar, a very scarce commodity to say the least. There's also 2 entities that actually serve the city of Apache Junction, and I'm sure Mr. Loggins here will address that, so you will hear a little bit about the private company that serves a little more than half the city, right, about 2/3 of the city, more or less, and then the Apache Junction Water District, which covers the other third. And like I said, our director will tell you all about that. He's a fairly new director, was named director in 2019. He had spent 6 years prior to that as essentially second in command, engineer and superintendent for the water district, and spent 12 years prior to that with Arizona Water Company. So he is very well versed in all things water in this part of the world, absolutely. Comes from the University of Evansville in Indiana. Any Hoosiers? We don't have any Hoosiers, do we? Man, it's their month. It's basketball month. Mechanical engineering and a number of other training certifications over the last several years, and is a certified public manager as well, and that makes a lot of sense because that's what he does for us. He's overseeing the growth of the district, the construction and now operation of the water treatment plant, I'm sure he'll talk about. And he has been our director, like I said, since 2019. So here he is, the director of the Apache Junction Water Utilities Community, Water Community Facilities District. Was that right? Who's the Water District? Michael Loggins, ladies and gentlemen.
All right. So most important part of the night, exciting for you guys. Ask any questions during my presentation. I'm going to start on high level. We'll narrow it down to Arizona as we get through the presentation here, but ask any questions as we go along. So kind of quick outline where we're at. We're going to do a little who we are, where we're going, some water laws of the West, water cycle, water's everything, water resources, and water quality. So our mission here at Apache Junction is to provide residents, visitors, community organizations, and businesses with the finest municipal water. So that's our whole goal here, and going through the presentation, you'll understand some of the requirements we have to provide that and how we get to that point. So our vision to be recognized as an invaluable resource providing a core service for the community while promoting growth and ensuring Apache Junction's sustainability and control for the future. And again, a lot of these things you'll see in our vision on how we're planning for the future with growth and different things that are happening out here and what has happened in the past also. So 10 water laws of the West. So we have the first water law is gravity. Water runs downhill. The second water law of Los Angeles is water runs up to money. So remember this here. So we get some of our water supply from the Colorado River, and when they allocated it out 20 years ago, California had a lot more people, a lot more money. They get prior rights than Arizona. Through negotiation, we were able to get some of that water, but again, it doesn't flow downhill, it flows up to money there. So here's just a brief map of how it comes here to Arizona. So in the top left corner of this map is Lake Havasu, and it's Colorado River water that is stored there, and then it's pumped through an aqueduct system all the way through Phoenix, right here through Apache Junction on our western side, and then all the way down to Tucson it travels. So, third law, the law of supply and creating demand. If you don't have the water, you won't need it. He who brings the water brings people. Kind of like what we're going to have happening here in the near future with, we have to have water to bring these new developments in. Different things are happening. We don't want to cut our supply short of our existing customers, so we got to manage this. So we'll discuss that a little bit too. The law of I got it first. So again, California had a lot of people there at that point in time. When we allocated that out, so they were appropriated more water rights than Arizona was at that time. So the law of beneficial use. So to have water rights, you must prove beneficial use. Environmentalists recognize this. We got to recognize some of our in-streams and beneficial uses of those so that we can provide these streams and we don't take all the water and we lose all our fish and some of the environmental reasons. The law of worthless land. Land is worthless without water rights. Again, here in Arizona, state land, a lot of development's going to occur over that. Not much water rights now, so now we have to go find those water rights, going through leases, purchase water, groundwater, all different kind of options we have. So there's a lot of work we have to do. So again, that land is down there, can't develop until we get water rights to it, so we're working through those ideas. Law of appropriations. So acquiring rights to water by buying up cheap land. So Saudi Arabia, they're surrounded by oceans over there. They got water over there, but their water is very expensive. Here in Arizona, in the United States, it's not that expensive. They came over here and purchased 15 square miles, 15 wells, roughly 22.5 billion gallons of water. What they do with that, they grow their alfalfa. It's cheaper to grow it here and ship it all the way overseas than it is to use their water and grow alfalfa in the desert over there. Yes.
That's why alfalfa costs a stinking money.
So this is actually down in Maricopa, just south of there, some of their farms that they have there. Law of price is right. No water shortage if the price is right. So just a little history, what we went through, we leased water from the Gila River Indian community. In roughly 2013, we signed a lease with them for 1,000 acre feet. It was $3 million we paid for that. It's roughly $3,000 an acre foot. Town of Gilbert, about 4 years ago, went out and leased some from another Indian community. It was $5,000 an acre foot. You probably read recently Queen Creek just purchased water rights on the Colorado River from a farm community. They bought the land, and it was $10,000 an acre foot. Wow. So it's going up in price and very quickly here in Arizona. So we're going to be working through some of that and making sure that we can purchase additional water rights and doing some different things and how do we recycle water and some different options that we have out there.
When you say leasing the water.
Yes.
Okay, how do you lease water? You give it back after we're done with it?
No, so you have to lease the rights. So the Indian communities cannot sell their water rights. So you can lease them. So we lease them for 100 years because we have to provide a 100-year assured water supply. So we lease them for 100 years. Phoenix started this. It's going to be interesting when the 100 years is up to see what the price of water is going to be at that point for the next lease. So luckily some other cities are going to be in front of us, hopefully. I'm not sure how that's going to be handled at that time. I'm sure the government's going to have to step in because it's going to be the price is right for whoever wants those water rights.
So our lease right now at 4,000 feet is for 100 years?
Yes. So we get 1,000 acre foot of CAP water for 100 years. Yep. So the law of vanishing citizens. So again, we had Hohokam grew up out here. We had some dry years. They disappeared. So if there's no rain, there's no water to flow. There's no people that are going to stay around here. They're going to go to the water. So just a quick water cycle. We go through this every year. We have a water festival. We go over it with our fourth graders just to kind of explain, You know, we have precipitation from the ocean, goes up into the clouds, starts raining, could be snow, goes into our lakes for reservoirs to save for future year use. It goes into the ground, goes into lakes and refills those. So just kind of the whole water cycle on here it goes. You know, obviously here in Arizona, it's a little bit different. We don't get much snow, but really what we watch is the snow in the Rocky Mountains because that's what serves the Colorado River and replenishes it for us. So even though like this last year we had a really dry summer and dry winter, we have very little rain, but it looks like even this weekend we're going to have a huge snowstorm up in the Rockies, and hopefully we'll get some of that runoff here in the spring and replenish some of those reservoirs and stuff that we have up there. So water globally, roughly 1/3 of the world's population now lives in water-stressed areas. Nearly 1 billion people still live without access to safe drinking water, and our city manager will protest that. He actually went down to South America and did a mission down there for a little while, and half the people there didn't have safe drinking water. So when he comes back here, he really appreciates the things that we do, and that when you turn on that faucet, it shows up there because 1/3 of people in the world do not have access to safe drinking water. So I'm going to go through some of these a little bit faster here, just getting through this so that we can get on to Apache Junction so you guys can hear a little bit more about that. So Cape Town, South Africa, they had a day 0, so they were going to run out of water eventually here. So they put in some water conservation measures, projected originally to run out of water in the spring of 2017. Luckily, they had some wet winters and rationing of their water. So on average in their community, it was 13 gallons per day is what a person uses. Does anybody have an idea of what a person uses here in Apache Junction per day? Nope, about 100 gallons a day. And we are one of the lowest ones in Arizona. So Tucson is probably about the same range we are. As you can tell, we're kind of more of a desert community out here. 100 gallons per day is what we use. As you get further into Gilbert, Phoenix, different things, it goes up to 120 to 130 gallons a day. So they did their water conservation. Day 0 got pushed out for another year. Rains helped, saved them. So now here's kind of our drought chart. In 2018, 4th warmest year on record, showing all the droughts here, and it's still going today. So it doesn't look like it's going to get any better, so we got to keep wishing for water here. So this is Lake Mead here. As you can see, there's a white line in these rocks, so that used to be the fill line for Lake Mead. It's our reservoir up there, and it's slowly dropping. So there's limits, there's different levels. So we're starting to do that water conservation. So I don't know if anybody, you guys heard about 2 years ago, we did a drought contingency plan where a lot of the communities got together in Arizona, California, and Nevada. You said, how can we keep water back there so we can hold off these drought conditions a little bit longer? So instead of recharging some of the water, some people leaving water behind. As we get lower levels in the lake, we start getting restrictions on farming water, different allocations that come out there, so we can reserve those capacities for municipal reasons. So climate change is going to bring big change to the West, including the dire possibilities that Lake Mead could run dry in the next 10 years. Lake Mead's 14 million acre-feet of water is about 4.5 trillion gallons. Isn't being replaced as fast as it's being used. So does anybody know how much an average household uses in a year in acre-feet? It's about 1/3 of an acre-foot. So you can serve 3 homes on an acre-foot. So if you can picture an acre-foot of water, it's an acre with 3 foot of water on top of it is what we're talking about here.
So now we're looking at something that is real and we have evidence of the effects, right?
Correct.
As we continue to move forward, how much are we looking at this as a concern?
It's not a huge concern, but it's something that's got to definitely be on our radar. Hopefully we get some wetter winters. It may not happen, but now we're taking some of that water and we're taking it and we're recharging it. So we're taking it and putting it in the ground so that when we do have these drier years and this starts lowering and we have cutbacks, we have some wells that we can turn on and suck that water out of the ground. Over time, we can get through that, to recycle that. We're working on SRP. You know, we think SRP is right here in our backyard. Apache Junction gets a lot of water from SRP. We get 0 water from SRP, even though it's right next to us. So we're working on a project with SRP and Central Arizona Project, which is Colorado River water. Currently, the Colorado River water can go into the Salt River, but it can't go the opposite way. So here where we filled up last spring, and SRP dumped some water into the Salt River, and it flowed all the way through Tempe and out of town. We're looking at ways where we can save that and put it in possibly into the CAP canal, or use different opportunities to reuse some of that water, to use the entire state's water rather than SRP's. This is only for me. In Colorado River water, this is only for certain cities that got allocations in the region. Okay. So 50% Lake Mead could run dry by 2021. We're good. We made it through that. So, and then less than 5% chance at all western cities. So kind of go through this. Again, as you guys see, a lot of our water comes up from the Colorado River Basin. So we have Lake Powell and we have Lake Mead. So big storage reservoirs that we keep up there, and then we bring it down. So during the summer months, we pump a lot of water from Lake Pleasant. But during the winter months when it's cheap water to pump because of electricity, we pump it into Lake Pleasant and we store it there here in Arizona. So that if something happens out on Lake Havasu, we still have our little reservoir here in Arizona, we can push it through that. And it's cheaper water, or cheaper electric rates during the winter time when we're pumping it in there. So we can pump it out in the summertime. So water regionally, we have a couple different things here. You have the Colorado River Basin, which is up to the north, and again, here's Phoenix to the south. Kind of regionally, we get a lot of our flow from that blue areas where our water actually comes from, the Colorado River. This red area is all runoff from SRP. That's where they get their water from. So even though, again, we're here in Arizona, a lot of our water is still coming from Colorado. So Apache Junction Water District, as I was saying earlier, we serve a third of the city. The other rest of the city is served by Arizona Water Company. So roughly anything east of Delaware and south of Old West Highway. And we service those customers in that area. There's some intermixing in between there, but that in general kind of gives you our idea. So we roughly serve about 15,000 in population, about 4,500 service connections. And our demands, each year we're at about roughly 1,600 acre feet per year, 95 gallons per capita, or 100 that we talked about earlier, and we do 1.5 million gallons per day to service those customers. And we're kind of unique with a lot of cities that what happens here in Arizona is in the summertime, our irrigation demands go up and we get this big peak and it comes back down. Well, here in Apache Junction, we don't have that peak because it peaks in the summer, and then in the winter when it starts dropping off, all of our winter visitors show up and it stays level all the way through. So we really don't have that peak like a lot of the communities you see here in Arizona. So that doubling in population kind of keeps our static of what we produce each year, year round. We produce at our plant about 1.5 million gallons a day and just base load. And if we need to ramp it up, we can turn on a well if we need to, or we can just ramp up the plant a little bit more. So our system capacity currently, we have 2 wells that can produce almost 1.7 million gallons per day. And in 2008, when we had some issues with our wells, we went to the city of Mesa and signed an intergovernmental agreement with them we deliver our raw water to them from the Colorado River, from CAP water. They would treat it, in return wheel it through their system, and then give it to us at our interconnect. So at that interconnect, we can do about 2.6 million gallons per day. So we did that for about 8 years. And then in 2013, the city council decided, you know what, we need to control our own destination and development here in Apache Junction. And we decided to build the first ever surface water plant here in Apache Junction and in Pinal County. So we built that in 2015, and it's been operating ever since, and it does about 2 million gallons a day. We only operated at about 1.5 unless we need to ramp it up for peaking demands. So our groundwater wells here in Apache Junction, it's about 10% of our supply, but the only reason why we're currently running those is just to keep them in operation. So if something happens with the Colorado River, we can turn them on and we can supply all those demands to our customers that we need to. So does anybody here have an idea of how deep our wells are here in Apache Junction, or what our static water level is? So I'm from Indiana. We drill wells up there 10, 15 foot underground, thinking, yeah, that's out here in Arizona. Our wells here are anywhere between 1,000 to 1,500 feet. The static water level is 600 feet below the surface. So quite a bit of difference. So it's not that cost effective to drill that deep to find that water. So that's what we have here. So now we're going to talk a little bit about what we were talking about earlier, is the Colorado River water, what we have access to, what we can supply our existing customers, and what we have for our future growth for our customers. So when they divvied up that back in the 1980s, we received 2,919 acre feet of CAP water for municipal and industrial use. We currently use about 950 million gallons per year, that's about 950,000 gallons a year. It's delivered through the Central Arizona Project, which is CAP, what I was telling you about. And then we lease another 1,000 acre feet of GRIC water. And then roughly 5 years ago, we put in an application to get an additional amount. So they have some non-Indian agricultural water that became available. So there was probably 30 or 40 cities that applied for it, and it was based on a need basis. And then they divvied up this 25,000 acre feet they had. Apache Junction received 817 of those 20,000 acre feet that they had available. It just recently became available to us, so we'll be purchasing that over the next 5 years. And again, this water's purchasing is not as reliable, because if we have some reductions in that, it could be taken away from us for a few years until the lakes are replenished, but at least gives us a little head start on that. We'll start recharging that water to put it in the ground while it's available, and then when it's not available, we can use that water and pump it out of the ground as if it was that water. So our water portfolio, so this is paper water. This isn't physical water that we have available right now to us. This is just on paper. So we have our CAP allocation, where it makes up about 40%. We also have a groundwater capacity. But any groundwater that we use currently, we make sure that we replenish it. So it's underground. So we have zero water use basically here in Apache Junction. So we're always replenishing, looking for renewable resources, so that we're putting it back in whatever we take out.
Is there a law that says the groundwater capacity has to be a certain level, that it has to be replenished, or is that just something municipalities choose to do?
No, so we are in the Phoenix. Oh, so you're wondering if there's a law of how deep you can pump water to, I guess, or?
Like the percentage of groundwater, do we have to have a certain percentage of groundwater capacity, like per capita or something? Is there a law that says we have to recharge it, or is it just something we do voluntarily as a city?
There's no law out there currently that you have to do that. But as part of, we're in a Phoenix active management area. So there's several, even though we're in Pinal County, we're in Phoenix active management area. So all the underground flow that goes underground, they have this huge water model. And that's how we got our groundwater allotment, showing we have water pipes in this area, we can pump this amount of water. What we are allowed to do is only pump down to 1,000 foot below the surface as we pump water. So over years of pumping, it's going to slowly start dropping. We're at 600 feet right now, but we can only pump down to 1,000 before they're going to shut us off. And they estimate on how many gallons of water that's going to be, and that's how they come up with some of our allocations of certain areas. Okay. Long-term storage credits. So this is the water that we're putting into the ground via, Darren will talk about a little later. They have a recharge facility at his site. He pumps the effluent water that he's treated into the ground. We buy his credits, so now we can pump that later because we know it's in the aquifer. So it's not considered groundwater at that time. It's considered these long-term storage credits. We also deliver to groundwater savings facilities. So like the big farms you see in Gilbert and different things, instead of them pumping their wells, we'll deliver our CAP water to them, they'll water their crops, and we get their credits for not pumping groundwater. So we add those to our long-term storage. So it's our bank account that we keep adding to, so we have those. But again, we have to prove that it's for 100 years, so even though we give them 100 acre feet, we only get one, because we got to have that acre foot for 100 years. So it's a lot of water we have to put in the ground to actually get credits like that. And then we just recently got that NIA water that we're talking about. We have storage facilities. We have two here in Apache Junction currently on 16th Avenue in Buena Vista, which is San Marcos, which you guys may be familiar with. And then we also have one at Baseline in roughly Idaho at our Public Works facility. There's two more tanks down there. We roughly have 2 million gallons of storage at each site. So that produces, if something happens out there, we have about 2.5 days of storage before something major would happen before we run out of water. So we kind of keep those going, but we can't fill them too much because then we have some water quality issues, so we have to manage on how high we get them and how low we get them. And we have to provide fire protection also, so we got to manage all those things. So this is our Mesa interconnect site. We have a 50-year lease here with Mesa. Again, currently we're not using that interconnect. We used it for roughly about 10 years to have Mesa treat our raw water, give us our finished water, but now it sits there as an emergency interconnect that we have with them. So if something happens to our plant, if something happens to our wells, we still have backup from the city of Mesa to provide water to us. And this is the Superstition area water plant. So this is on Ironwood, just south of Baseline. This was built, like I said, in 2015. It's been in operation for the last 5 years. We do 2 million gallons a day here. We have master planned, and we'll get into that a little bit here in a few minutes. So sustainability, CAP water recharge. We're working on a recharge project out here in Apache Junction. The way, like I said earlier, we're in the Phoenix Active Management area. We put wet water into the ground, but the Phoenix Active Management area goes from Superior all the way past Tonopah, all the way to the other side. Arizona Department of Water Resources doesn't manage where you put water in the ground. We could recharge water in Tonopah and get credits here, but that's not truly where we need the water. So we're working on a project to recharge water here in Apache Junction so that we can pump that water back out of the ground when we need it someday. CAP water leases, we're going to keep continuously working on those. Like we said, we have that 1,000 acre feet. We're set up here for the next seeable future, but as this growth happens, we're going to be looking for additional water supplies and have growth pay for that water rather than our existing customers. So with our infrastructure upgrades with the plant, we designed that plant for 2 million gallons a day the first day, but its future and master build out is 10 million gallons a day. So that will roughly serve about, I'd say, 30,000 people. So, and we're going to do it in 2 million gallon per day increments as we grow. We don't have to do it all at one time, so we can slowly ramp up to get to that. Last one here is what we're looking into the future here in Apache Junction. It just happened, I think it was 2 years ago, that Arizona Department of Environmental Quality approved that we can use direct potable reuse. And direct potable reuse used to be called toilet to tap. It's a better name for it these days. So California's doing it already. Texas is doing it already. The Middle East has been doing it for years. This isn't something new, something exotic that's going to happen. But instead of taking our water resources and putting them into the ground, we're going to take and recycle that water and retreat it. So currently, our water quality has to be 99.99 for log removal on any kind of bacteria or anything, right? If we do direct potable reuse, it has to be 12 log removal. So 99.999999. So we did some calculations on that. You'd be lucky to win the Powerball twice before you get sick from this water. So that gives you that kind of safeguard. A couple years ago at our Arizona Water Association, they did a van that went around and had treated effluent. They treated it again, and they actually made beer out of it. They made a beer challenge out of it so people would drink it. We actually got some of the water that was out of that trailer, brought it in here to some of our city council members, put it up there, and you had a few looks like, this is not good. I drank it, a couple of the other council members drank it. You couldn't tell the difference between normal water and this water. It's so pure, it's excellent. So we'll be getting to that. So again, going back to drinking water quality standards, we take pride in this. Standards set by EPA. They're enforced by our Arizona Department of Environmental Quality. So it's based on a three-step process to identify contaminants, determine what maximum levels we can have in the water, and then also what to set the limits for and enforce those maximum contaminant levels that we have. We're actually on the unregulated contaminant monitoring rule 4. So even if it's not a rule currently, we start looking at other contaminants that could be in the water. So they're talking about PFOS and PFAS, I think it is now. So the foam that fire departments use has chemicals in it. They never degrade. So that eventually gets into the water, and they're trying to see what kind of limits that you can have in the water before it becomes a cancer-causing agent that could happen. So we keep working through those things. So we're constantly looking at different items that could be in the water that could cause different things. Then EPA looks at it, oh, okay, how porous is it to the public? How much is it going to cost to produce that kind of water? And they manage that to come up with some of their contaminant levels for us. So our water quality and testing list, so this is the list that we test for every year that's provided to us here. We do over 106 types of samples each year. So we do BACT tests. So we check for bacteria over 130 times in the system throughout the year. We call them SOCs, but synthetic organic compounds, over 180. Arsenic samples, 80. Disinfection byproducts, 16. Lead and copper, 70. And then we do all our pH and chlorine residuals daily at all of our sites. So constantly going through that just to make sure the water's going out to our customers, meets all of our standards. So this kind of gives you an idea. Oops, let's go back. Over 360 samples we take there, and over 2,000 samples we take daily throughout the year of all these.
What about medication in the water? When people dump that through, do you have a way to test for all the stuff that they dissolved into our water?
Eventually, that's part of going to be the reuse, because a lot of it's dissolved and it goes down to Darren at the plant. They treat for some of that, but some of it is still dissolved in there, and we're going to figure out what levels that they have for some of those pharmaceuticals that you're talking about there. So we talked a little bit about that already. Average rainfall in Apache Junction is about 9 inches per year. Evaporation rate is 94 inches a year. And then roughly an average pool is about 16,000 gallons for your play pools here in Arizona.
Is there any thought about restricting and limiting pools in the future because of that water use?
I don't think anybody's pushed the issue of pools. I think it's going to be more of low water use for outdoors. So about 2/3 of the water used at a residence is used outdoors for watering trees, grass, whatever else you have out here. I would say in Apache Junction it's probably more like 50% compared to some other areas, but usually it's about 2/3 is used outdoors than indoors.
Because pools and golf courses use a lot of water, don't they?
Correct. Yeah, so in Arizona you can no longer use groundwater or Colorado River water for golf courses. It has to be effluent, some kind of reuse water to water golf courses. You can no longer build them like that.
What about collecting rainwater? Do we have some sort of policy? You know, here, please use your rainwater collection for watering your plants and everything now?
So we haven't went that far yet. We're working on that some with the new development. I'm sorry, Al.
It's okay. We'll keep going.
But there has been some communities that have tried that. What we tried doing, instead of doing it in individual homes, we collected in retention basins, put dry wells in there, and put the water back in the ground rather than keeping it on somebody's site to pump back out. I think in this new area, you're going to see some different things that we're looking at. There's a low impact study that we did with Scottsdale and Phoenix and different areas. The developers even are talking about not allowing any kind of high water use plants in their front yard or no grass. It has to be synthetic grass if that's what you're going to put in. Some different things like that down there to save water. We're going to be using reuse water, hopefully down there to water some of the common areas so that there is, where public places are, that they do have a little bit of grass, but kind of reserve some of that water again and coming up with some different ideas that we can use out there. So here's kind of the effects of drought. Here's a harbor, and then this is what it looks like when we don't get enough rain. So again, here's a lake. And again, here's what happened in California when they start in their drought system. So I'm trying to get through the rest of my slides here, and then we can ask some questions. I'm running out of time here. Challenges is climate change, infrastructure getting put in the ground, regulatory, budget requirements, sustainability, make sure that we have it for 100 years, water conservation, reuse, and then global issues. So every drop there ever was or ever will be is already here. Please use it wisely. So do you guys have any questions about water here in Apache Junction that I can help you out with? If you guys ever want to come down to the water plant, talk to Al. We can have you guys come down. We'll give you a tour of the water plant so you guys can see how we produce water here.
I actually have a question about gray water as well. Is there an actual law that prohibits individual use or collection of gray water for your own landscape?
No. So you can do that. There's a lot of different laws that are out there. The more we collect, we have to manage it too, because like in Prescott started collecting their water. Well, SRP said, well, in law, that's our water because it's runoff. It's going to go to the rivers, back down to our lakes, so you can't collect too much of it. So there's stuff that we have to manage, but there are some laws, but it's not to individual collection at this point in time. Yes, sir.
So at your new plant, you currently produce 2 million gallons a day?
Correct.
What is your maximum capacity?
So we do 1.5 today.
Well, no, what is the plant capable of producing?
Can do 2 million gallons a day.
Okay, so.
The current plant, and then it's master plan for 10 million gallons a day.
Very good.
But to kind of give you an idea, what Mike was up here, talked about this new development, it's 4 square miles down there. They are talking about, once their project is built out, 12,000 homes, roughly another 30,000 people, possibly. 12 million gallons a day we need. So they're going to max out that plant very quickly. So we'll see how that goes. These are, again, design numbers. Some of them are conservative, but we're not sure exactly what they're going to be putting in down there. It may be a little less. You know, we have, on paper, we have 7,000 acre-feet of water available. We're only using roughly about 1,500. But by the time that development's done, we could be all the way through all of our paper water, and we're going to need to go purchase additional water at that point in time. So what we work on, we have a couple different fees that we charge development. So we have a water acquisition fee so that we can go out and purchase that water. And then we also have a system connection fee so that we can build infrastructure to serve those customers down there. So those are kind of impact fees that the water district has so that the development pays for itself and not our existing customers.
So would it be best for us to start planning for the infrastructure for what's coming in the future now? Yes?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, so we've been planning for this. That's why we went out and purchased that, or leased that water, kind of getting ahead of it. I think we're ahead of it for our next 30,000 in population. But once we get there, we're going to need additional water. So we haven't stopped looking for additional water. We're continually going to be doing that so that we have it when it becomes available and when we need it for the future, so that we don't stop. Because eventually, ADWR will say, you're out of water, no more development. Right. So depends upon how we move there.
To your knowledge, have we started discussions about when we're going to have to start limiting development because of the water?
No. No, we haven't had any large developments that would use up all of our water at this point in time, so we haven't had to limit anything. I believe back in 2000, Arizona Water Company had an issue with that, where their water didn't have enough paper water to provide all the customers, so there was no more final plats that were recorded during that time period. But then they went out and did some more studies and proved there was more groundwater available. They started using some of their surface water and proved that they can move forward with that.
Well, I guess my question is, we know we're getting thin on water. At some point, we're going to have to start telling developers, you can't come, no more development, you can't come here.
Correct.
Have we started those discussions yet, or no?
We haven't got to that point.
Okay.
But we're going to be looking for new water so that hopefully we don't get in that situation. That's kind of what the city council has done, is went out, we've purchased this additional water to get out in front of all this so we can keep moving forward with that also.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on water? And the big thing for the future, and I can't stress it enough, is going to be water reuse. I know it's a scary situation for people to think of water being recycled, but you know, when I was in college 20-something years ago, a professor asked me one day, said, hey, where do you want to be? Where's your water plant going to be? Does it need to be downstream of the sewer plant or upstream of the sewer plant? And probably 3/4 of people in the plant raised upstream. I don't want that sewer water coming down to my water treatment plant. And he goes, well, you're wrong. The water's actually cleaner coming out of your sewer treatment plant than it is in that river. So you got to think about that. Yes, sir.
Well, I said 30 years ago, and we're in a sewer treatment plant, and the requirement at the time was the water going into the river had to be cleaner than the water of the river.
Right.
This was almost 40 years ago.
Yes. And we had somebody come help us start the plant up down there. She worked for Louisiana for a while. She worked for the city of Phoenix for a while, and she said in Louisiana, the Mississippi River, when you treated that water for potable use, supposedly it went through 18 people before it made it to Louisiana. So it happens today, but it's just not here in Arizona where the rivers are dry. They usually go back to a wet river before you pull it back out.
There's a guy down in Tucson, and he's in the middle of nowhere, so he had a choice between drilling or collecting rainwater, and it was cheaper to collect the rainwater. He has a family of 6, a greenhouse, and like a 3,000 or 4,000 square foot house, and he collects the rainwater enough to do that entire area, and he reuses some of the water to take care of the plants too. So I mean, it is still being done now to an extent.
Yes.
Yeah, they get a little more.
They get a little bit more, but like I said, Tucson is very water conservation, they were probably the best in the state at what they do. Like I said, they're under 100 gallons per capita per day. So they push a lot of those things with collecting rainwater, using different things.
Their conservation efforts actually go back to the 70s because, of course, I grew up in Tucson, and as I've probably mentioned to Mike more than once, my father actually worked for the City of Tucson Water Department for 35 years. So their conservation efforts literally go back to when I was in grade school, and it was an amazing marketing campaign. I mean, they got through the schools, and they got through all kinds of groups, and it was prevalent throughout the entire city. Now, you got to remember, Tucson in the early 70s, probably about 250,000 people, a little bit different than what it is now, which is 700, 800,000 people, a little bit different sort of situation. But they did see that, and they knew they were going to do that, and they're stubborn down there. They didn't even take CAP water until just a few years ago. It seems like they would just recharge it into the ground. All right, other questions? Let me check my online folks here. Okay, I think we're good. Mike?
You guys. I'm sorry, I'm passionate about water. I've been doing it for a long time. I enjoy it, so.
There you go. Mike Loggins, ladies and gentlemen. It's interesting to think about that 4 square miles, because we talk, and we will continue to talk a lot about that as we go forward, because that is looming on us. Think of it as Meridian to Idaho, southern to Superstition. 4 square miles. It's a big chunk of the city, right? Oh, it'll be an interesting way to look at about it. Okay, let's get set up here for the third presentation of the evening. Anybody need a break? You guys okay? Are we all right? Daryl? Stretching? Okay. You wanna use that? Or you wanna use this? All right. We'll just give like 10 minutes and we'll be there. Like I said, his anniversary's tomorrow. He's got to get out of here. How many years? 16. Thank you, Mr. Loggins. All right, you ready? Yeah. All right, here we go, folks. Along with water, what else has to come with water? Oh, yeah, there you go. But like I said, water and sewer in the city of Apache Junction are quasi-municipal. Well, the sewer district is actually even more separate from the city than even the water district. The water district has a board of directors. The board of directors for the water district is the city council. But the board of directors for the sewer district is a completely separate appointed board. And I'm sure our director will tell you all about that as well. He has been with the district for 13 years, so you must have started when you were about 12, I guess. Is that right? He started as an engineer and became manager in 2014. Bachelor's degree in engineering from the school over in Tempe, I don't know what it's called. And is a registered professional engineer in the state of Arizona. Now, you should know it is called the Superstition Mountain Community Facilities District. Number one, bar none. But of course, we all know it as a sewer district. So here is the manager of the Superstition Mountain Community Facilities District, Mr. Darren Anglin. Darren.
Is this on?
It should be. Let's see.
Uh-oh.
In front.
Testing?
Is the battery out?
I don't know, it says low battery. Oh, he used all the time up, I guess.
Yeah, just use the podium mic.
Okay. All right, how about that? Is that better? Okay. Thank you, Al. I'm glad to be here tonight. It's always good to see so many people interested in local government and getting involved. It's excellent. So as Al mentioned, our name is Superstition Mountains Community Facilities District number 1. You know, you can't imagine saying that on the phone every day when people call. It's like, hey, this is... so we just go by SMCFD or Sewer District. Sewer District, much easier to do. Also, we get confused a lot with the Fire District. SMFD is their name, or SFMD. So, you know, sometimes when we go to the restaurant, like, hey, we give you a discount, like Fire District, we're like, okay. It's like, no, we couldn't possibly. We're just heroes, it's okay. All right, our sewer story. We were formed in 1992 by the city council to provide sewer throughout the city. At that time, everything was either served by a private system or a septic tank. And ADQ had come out and said, hey, you can't build more subdivisions or more commercial properties on septic tanks. You just can't do that. So the city council said, all right, we're going to create this regional wastewater collection system and treatment plant. We're a special purpose district. Again, our purpose is to do sewer. And we're governed by a volunteer board of directors. They're appointed by the city council. We have 5 board members volunteer. They serve 6-year staggered terms. And we have 3 that are up in 2022. So they'll be coming around at that time. The board of directors, they set our rates, fees, and charges. They approve our budget, and they also approve our policies and procedures. All right, some facts and figures. We have about 7,000 customers. Quick math, there's way more houses in Apache Junction than 7,000. So when the sewer was installed, it was not mandatory to connect. So we have some streets where everyone's connected, and we have some streets where 1 or 2 people are connected. But everything since 1992, all the new development has connected to sewer, like the new subdivisions, Jacobs Ranch or Stagecoach Trails, the new Fries, all that's connected to sewer. But on the older system, it is voluntary. Until your septic fails, when your septic fails, then you connect at that time, if we're close to you. Oh, sorry. We have 25 employees, annual budget just under $8 million. When the sewer was installed in 1992, you know, no one had $30 million to fork over for that. So we took out some bonds and some debt. We've been paying that debt off for, you know, since then. And right now we're just about $11 million left on the debt. And our annual debt payment is $2.7 million. The 2.7 I bring up because, you know, if you look at your home budget or your budget, about 35% of everything we collect, all of our fees, goes towards our debt, $2.7 million. So we're working to pay that down in 2025. That will be paid off. We're very excited about that. Wastewater collection system. When we post jobs for the wastewater collection system, we get a lot of people who are interested in doing bill collection. So it's different to say, no, different kind of collection. You don't want to do this kind of collection unless you know what you're getting into. So we have 115 miles of sewer pipe, 6-inch to 36-inch, about 2,000 manholes in the system. And there's a map of the entire system. You can notice kind of the white area is a big blank area for us. We don't have a lot of lines over there. As you're all aware, there's lots of washes. It's very hilly. It's just not conducive for our gravity system right now. I mean, someday we'll probably be out there, but for now, we're concentrated in the areas where, you know, most of the more dense development is. On the collection system, this is our camera van. If you ever see this rolling down the street, they are making dirty movies in this van. They put a sewer camera in the pipe, and they run it up the pipe, and they look for cracks, blockages, grease, anything that shouldn't be there. And then they put it into our maintenance system. If they find like, hey, there's a lot of sediment in this system or this pipe on Ironwood, we will come and check it more frequently, or maybe we need to clean it more frequently. Or maybe there's a customer upstream that's just dumping a ton of grease and we need to go talk to him and say, hey, put the grease in the garbage, don't put it down the sewer. So that's what that does. And this is the sewer cleaning truck. It cleans the sewer. We use high pressure water and it kind of scours the pipe. So they'll go out, they'll clean it, camera it, and about once every 5 to 6 years, they try to clean every section of pipe throughout the city. So it's a big job, but it keeps our system flowing and everyone happy. All right, public service announcement. We have to do this every time. All right, it's a toilet, not a trash can. All right, I know everyone knows that, but I don't think everyone follows that. Please don't flush down. Baby wipes, those are the worst. Baby wipes, no matter what it says, when it says flushable, it's a lie. Every time. It's not flushable. Bandages, cat litter, cotton balls, Q-tips, dental floss, diapers, that seems like a hard one, but don't do that either. Paper towels, I've heard it said if you can flush an elephant down the toilet, people would. So please don't do that. We find all sorts of stuff in the sewer. All right, treatment facility. This is our plant. We're located on Ironwood and Guadalupe on the east side of Ironwood. We have a 2 million gallon treatment plant you can see right there. This is really the exciting part of the entire night. You know, public works is great, water is nice, but this is where it really happens. This is an actual picture of our raw sewage. We used to bring these bottles in, but a few years ago, one of the lids wasn't on all the way and we went to... So we don't do that anymore. We take pictures. It's more sanitary for everyone. Yeah. So that is our raw sewage. The raw sewage comes in. We have a screen that takes out the big things we don't want to treat, like shoes or rags or whatever else, gloves. We screen all that out, and then it goes into our aeration basins. That's like the heart of the treatment plant. We basically have a big bacteria farm. So we give them air, and we give them the right environment, and these bacteria that's already in the sewage, they eat what's in the sewage coming down, all the waste, everything else. And when they're done, I mean, they eat, they grow, they eat, they grow, and when they're done, we collect all those bugs together, and it's our sludge, it's the solids. It's heavy, so it settles down. We remove that, and then we're left with the effluent. That's our clean water. That is an actual picture of our water. And we disinfect that with chlorine, and then we're ready to go. Fun fact, since 1996, we've treated over 10 billion gallons of water, or wastewater. It's a ton of water. And since 2005, we started recharging the water. So before 2005, we would treat the water and then it goes down a wash, which is great, you know, just goes down behind us, crosses Ironwood, goes down towards Meridian. In 2005, we dug some basins in our property and we started putting the water in there and just let it percolate down to the groundwater. And that we're getting credit for, and we take those credits and give them back to the water district, like Mike mentioned, and he uses those credits to pump more water out. So since 2005, we recharged about 4.5 billion gallons of water back into the aquifer. So we're hoping future generations use that water to come. We're heavily regulated by ADEQ. We have permits with them. We have permits with Pinal County. We have permits with Department of Water Resources. We have permits with everyone. We take samples nonstop every day, monthly, annually, quarterly, all the time we're taking samples. And we also have monitoring wells on our property that go below surface, and we pump that water out, test that water as well, make sure we're not polluting anything. Future growth. I know the other Mike and Mike also mentioned this. So we serve everything in Apache Junction, but that new growth that's happening south, we need to expand our service area to legally serve them. So we're working right now to expand that area, and that's the area in green right there you can see. It's south of our current treatment plant. So when that all develops, we're gonna have to pump that back up to our treatment plant because it's, you know, can't gravity feed it. We're gonna pump it back up north. That's about 2,800 acres that was auctioned off, those 4 sections right there. And we're going to expand our service area by 11 square miles. So if we have 7,000 accounts right now, they're estimating 10 to 12,000 new accounts with this property. You know, we're looking at more than doubling our current customer count. So it's a very exciting time for the city to grow and to really see what happens in this area. That is our treatment plant. The box right there, that's the existing plant. So you can see this development's not too far from where we're at right now. We do tours, just like Mike said. Have any questions, give Al a call. We got some life jackets. We'll put you in there. No problem. That is our, actually, that's a real boat at our treatment plant. That's our plant. You like the little motor we had on that, trolling motor. It was for maintenance on our system. It was dangerous, so we got a small little pontoon that's more stable, because when they would do this, they would reach over one side to grab something, the other person would back up to use a counterweight. It was dangerous. No one ever fell in, thank goodness. But the operators did tell us, if I ever fall in, let me go. Just don't, it's not worth it. Don't save me. All right, any questions? Just let me go.
So, you guys used to take in a lot of horse manure in your processing. What are the chances of that opening back up again?
All right, so something happened.
And why did it close? Yes, all that. Give us
Great
the lowdown, please.
Lowdown. The truth of it is, there's this chemical, PFAS or PFOAs. They just started discovering that in the water and in the solids, in the sludge. And we discovered that we had quite a bit of that in our sludge as well. Right now, the industry as a whole is not really sure what to do with that. How do we treat that? Is it dangerous or not? We're waiting for the EPA to establish limits. So until then, we're going to push pause on the biosolids. So we used to take the horse manure, we'd mix it with our sludge, and we'd put it in a big row and we compost it. And at the end, we'd have some nice soil amendment. But until we can figure out what's going on with the PFAS nationwide or as a world, we're going to have to take all our solids to the landfill. And because the horse manure just adds more weight for us to take to the landfill, we had to stop, at least push pause until we figure out what we're doing. So it's going to be probably at least a couple of years, if not more. Like I said, till the industry says, hey, this is okay, it's not that bad. Or maybe they say, no, it's not okay, just go landfill. That's why I stopped. It was a good program, though. We liked it.
So I saw on your list medication.
Okay.
How hard, because I know it's bad for you and everything, are you guys just having a hard time distinguishing how much is coming into your facility to figure out how to balance, or what's going on with that exactly?
We can't treat for medication. The only thing we can do right now is hope that the bugs that are in our wastewater like to eat that medication, but they really don't. So we try to get it in the solids. When the solids settle down, if it can take any of that with it, then we waste that out. We get rid of it some that way. But we have to use advanced treatment to get rid of those medications. So it's much better if everyone can just dispose of them in the garbage or where you're supposed to. Don't put them down the drain.
Remember, the city of Apache Junction, one of the few places where you can take your medications, no matter what they are, to the police department, right there. Where am I? Backwards. And right in the lobby, they have a green bin where you can drop all of your medications, no matter what they are. Just police right now, just police. Now there are sometimes some collection events, and there'll be different locations, but right now just police. And obviously the only things we try to stay away from are like cancer drugs, anything that could be radioactive or something like that. But anything else you can take right to the police lobby. Okay. Questions?
Okay, so the other Mike talked about the reuse. So do you guys have any plans for that, or even like trials, or what's the state of that kind of thing?
All right, so for reuse, I'm going to break that into two sections. We have reuse purple pipe. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that. Purple pipe, basically we take that water that was clean at the end, make sure there's enough chlorine in that, and then we put it in a pipe just like a water line, and it'll go to irrigation, like for a ball field or a park or something like that. So we'll do that type of purple pipe irrigation. We're hoping and pushing the new developer to put that in their plan. That way we can, every drop that we use of our effluent for the park or irrigation, is one less that the Mike does not have to bring out there. So it saves potable water. The other reuse where we pump ours back to the water plant, so far no one in Arizona has done that. Mike mentioned Texas and California, other places do that. So we are waiting to see how that works and who's going to do that. A lot more treatment would have to be done between Mike and myself, a lot more advanced treatment, a lot more filtration.
Not to mention a lot of public relations for Mount Bravo. Oh, my goodness.
I mean, I think it's going to happen in our lifetime, and the more the drought continues, the higher pressure it puts on that. But right now, it's not like in the next 5 years, but maybe beyond that.
Okay, so with the expansion of that area down south, I assume you're going to have to expand your physical location. Do you have room to expand, or do you have to buy land somewhere else and start interconnecting your plants?
Great question. There's a couple options. We could do that. We could do another plant. We could expand our plant. We are right now proposing to expand our plant. We have about 100 acres around us. The current technology we use, kind of the open basin right there, is very land intensive. So we're looking to move to a new process when we have to do that can utilize space more efficiently, and we're planning right now to put about 26 million gallons per day on this property. Eventually the old plant will just get phased out, but that is the current plan. Master plan on our site and use a more or a less intensive operation for land. Great question. What was that? Yes, the way we have it right now, it is very cost effective. They mounted up some dirt, lined it, and then that was pretty much it. But the new technology will be covered, be more odor control, a lot different. Thank you.
Other questions? See, our sewer district's not number 2, it's number 1. It really is. It really, really is.
Very good.
Okay? Darren Anglin, ladies and gentlemen. He made it happen. That's pretty good. Does anybody remember what's coming up in 2 weeks? Do we remember what's coming up in 2 weeks? I think it's Law and Order, isn't it? Law and Order? Was it Parks? I had it, and of course I didn't bring it down. Is it police and courts? Because remember we will find out in 2 weeks. Remember that Pause and Clause is part of the police department. So if I remember right, it's Pause and Clause, police, and courts. And I will give you a little inside news. We're going to have a new judge. Not by then, but we will in the future. What? Oh, animals. I swear more people to pay attention to the animals than anything else in this town. Okay, any other questions for the rest of the night? Or comments or anything along those lines? Again, in many cities, in many municipalities, water and sewer can be part of the city proper. And I'm sure there will be people that you will talk to in this town and in this complex who will tell you that someday maybe water and sewer should be part of the proper city government in some way. Again, remember there's a couple of other issues there, and that is, first, the city water district, as it is right now, only serves part of the city. And then the sewer district obviously also serves people outside of the city limits. So there's some challenges there as far as that goes. But nonetheless, there will likely be talk for that, especially as we get a little closer to, shovels in the ground and, rooftops down south. So you can imagine you can hear something like that as well. Terrell, did you have another question, or is that right? Public Works obviously is probably one of the most visible areas outside of maybe police and parks that you see or don't see, because they're there all the time, but you're driving on those roads just about every day. So hopefully some very good information for all of you this evening on those 3 areas. Okay. City council meeting on Monday and Tuesday, work session on Monday, and regular meeting on Tuesday. Couple of interesting items. Those agendas are online, so you can take a look at that. The following Tuesday, there should be a planning and zoning meeting. Again, we encourage everyone to at least try to attend one council meeting and one P&Z meeting during the class. And then we're getting a little closer because we're more than halfway through, believe it or not. If we don't have any other questions, you guys get to get sprung a little bit early. As always, as I tell you, thank you very much for joining us, and as always, please drive home safely.